Now, Donald Trump's poll numbers are bad. They're really, really bad. In the wake of several disastrous policy defeats, as well as some botched responses to the different natural disasters, Puerto Rico, for example, President Trump has decided to ignore all that, double down on his base at the expense of everyone else, and it shows in the polling. Now, new polling numbers show that any small rise President Trump had previously gotten is now gone, and he is now back to super, super low approval ratings. So how low? How low can you go? Well, for Trump, there's no bottom to that barrel. But according to FiveThirtyEight, the president is now back to 38.1% job approval. That is a disaster. That actually puts him in last place in approval ratings at this number of days after being sworn in of any president in the polling era. So for as long as they've done polls, President Trump has underperformed them. What a legacy. That's going to be the legacy of Trump. Like crappy poll numbers. Now, his disapproval numbers are actually far worse. He's at 55.6%. His net approval has been the worst among 13 of the worst presidents in history. Every day so far of his presidency, that's a disaster. His net approval is worse than any other president except for Gerald Ford, who was still in the negatives, but not nearly as bad as Donald Trump. And of course, every other president is in positive territory at this point. And we could talk about these numbers being bad, but I feel like there needs to be a little bit of context added into it. Now, what's interesting is, look, normally when you think of what, helps a president's favorability and unfavorability ratings, one of the biggest factors that comes up is the economy. Is the economy doing okay? Well, in this case, fairly. I mean, yes, it's been generally okay. We're not doing great. We're just, right now, we're in a continuation of the Obama economy. Very small amount of growth. Yes, there's still a lot of money going to the top 1%. That is a huge, huge problem that needs to be addressed. But hey, compared to when we were in free fall with George W. Bush, it's actually a lot better. So, to be fair. Now, like I said, the economy at the tail end of the Bush years was in a complete free fall, and that sent George W. Bush into the 20s, his approval rating. It was a disaster. Now, Trump hasn't hit that yet. And I'm not sure if he will. Now, if the economy does crash, then that's a guarantee. But it's a guarantee for anybody who's president, whether it be Hillary Clinton or Bernie Sanders. If the economy crashes, generally people look at the president and go, it's your fault. Fix it. Or you broke it, you bought it. Pretty much. Okay. But like I said, Bush got there because of the economy. But what's weird is that President Trump is already in super low ratings, and the economy is actually fairly decent. So that's weird. So, I mean, massively unpopular now, and this is incredibly abnormal. As Jonathan Bernstein writes in Bloomberg about this, quote, to get this unpopular this fast, and to do it in an era of relatively good times, is just breathtaking. Well, everything about this last 10 months has been, I guess, something short of breathtaking. So now we go to Harry Enton from FiveThirtyEight, who estimate that Trump's net approval is about 30 percentage points below where the economy suggests it should be. So it doesn't matter that the country is actually doing decently. Part of the reason that Trump got elected was to make sure that it would do better than just decently, and unfortunately he has not delivered. Now, that's a complete disaster, and it's not like he came into the presidency on a wave of popularity either. He had the ability to make it better. He actually made it worse. He focused on, tweeting at the NFL, making fun of Gold Star families, beefing with journalists, all this stuff. And so what this poll does is that it kind of shows that everything Donald Trump right now is in the middle of doing is basically driving away everybody but his core supporters. But as I've mentioned before, he does not care, because he himself, I don't think he has any policy goals other than to win. Now, how does he win? Well, he wins either when people like him or there's a policy that benefits him. Now, right now, people don't like him, and people don't like the policies that he's putting forward or that he's pushing. However, he likes tax reform. And what does that mean? It's cutting taxes for himself. the GOP tax plan that he's been pushing will cut his taxes dramatically. And not only that, but causing the ACA to eventually collapse and make the Democrats try to deal. That has the possibility of also removing some of the more progressive taxes that are in Obamacare, which again is a win for Trump. But even so, even without that removal of some of those taxes, if he does get a deal with the ACA and people actually like it, well, that's still a win for him because, hey, I changed this disastrous failing Obamacare and I made it into something good. Give me all the credit. Again, that's a win. Now, this leads me to my last point here. Despite these dismal poll numbers, Donald Trump still has a chance in 2020, assuming he's still there, right? Again, he was never at all that popular during the campaign. He was incredibly unpopular, and yet he still won. Now, that does say a lot about who the Democrats put up in 2016. I mean, who loses to someone like that? Disaster, right? Now, if the Democrats do the same thing that they did before, and it's very, very possible that they could, put up another milquetoast establishment corrupt candidate that proves to end up being less popular, well, then this could be very, very bad. We could end up seeing Trump for another 4 years. Now, I'm not saying that that's set in stone, but I am raising this possibility. And I think it's something that is important to talk about. Whether, you know, you're coming from a progressive side or even not from a progressive side, what do you do to win? And so, and now there's another reason that he could possibly win is that his base is still there. His base has not abandoned him. And they still have an important voice. It's very small, but if unchecked, they can be a force in politics. And we saw that in 2016. So, and these people, they do elect their kind of people. People like Roy Moore, for example. And look, Steve Bannon, he declared outright war with the GOP establishment. He's got a lot of the big donors that are coming around to him, and they're going to primary the hell out of establishment Republicans. And they're going to put in their own version of people. So this is an electorate on the right that is highly engaged. You know, liberals, progressives, we have the numbers, but for some reason we don't have the turnout. And yes, there some of that has to do with voter suppression as well. But I think a lot of it is we should put up a candidate that people actually want to vote for. My overall point, though, here is with these numbers, do not get complacent. Well, we talk about this all the time, how unpopular Trump is. That doesn't mean people still won't vote for him. It doesn't mean that he doesn't have a dedicated core of people that will come to his aid, that will go and vote him in, especially over, like I said, another centrist milquetoast Democrat. And unless the Democrats are able to actually put up a populist progressive, I don't think you're going to get enough votes to be able to defeat that. So, Democrats, you've got a chance here. Put up somebody people actually want to vote for. Again, look at the failure of the party in 2016. This shouldn't have even been close. Hillary Clinton's like, oh, I won by 3 million votes. Yeah, good for you. You should have won by 10 million. Oh, that's so sexist. No, that's looking at the fact that Donald Trump is a train wreck disaster, and anybody should have been able to beat him. A ham sandwich could have beat him. No matter, but the point is, like I said, no matter how unpopular something is, the opponent is, you still got to show up, right? And if you want people to show up, Democrats, you have to give them someone to vote for. And if you don't, you end up getting people like Trump, and no poll on earth is ever going to change that. Hey everybody, thanks for watching this video. If you want to see more like this, please hit the subscribe button below. And if you want to support truly independent progressive media, please consider becoming a patron at patreon.com/TYTNation.